This is the Wisdom Table coming to you from East Harlem, New York City, which is called El Barrio. And the station is East Harlem Community Radio. The program is the Wisdom Table. And the Wisdom Table is a workshop of senior citizens learning and getting the experience of running their own talk show. I'm your co-host, Brother Leroy, and thankful to the Most High for blessing us with another day on this good earth, another day to do some good deeds for ourselves and our families. And of course, this program does not reflect the views, attitudes, whims, deeds, or any other proclivities of the management of the James Weldon Johnson Community Center, nor that of the administration of this complex. However, the program does reflect the research done by the participants in the program live and live in color in studio and our guest on phone. And our guest this morning is attorney Leroy Chambers Gray of Houston, Texas. In the November 27th issue of the Final Call newspaper, there's a two-page spread on 17 black women who won judgeships in the midterm elections in November. The title of the article is "This is a Sisterhood for Life, Black Girl Magic in Houston's Judiciary." And the panel consists of, right now, two of our workshop crew, and I'm porting mic to
Stroud. Shirley Stroud.
Hi, this is Esther Hyatt, and I want to say congratulations to you, Judge-elect Gray. And we're certainly proud of you and the rest of the team over here in New York. So, very nice to meet you.
Yes,
This way.
It's so nice to participate in this program, and thanks for having me.
Okay.
So we have questions from our panel.
Okay.
Okay.
So, shall I call you attorney now until January, or what? I'm sure
You can, yes. They can refer to us as judge-elect, but
Oh,
you can certainly call me attorney.
Okay.
Because, that's certainly the hat I've worn for the last 30 years.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, this is a big change, for you, I think.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
How does it feel going into the judge's chambers now, as opposed to what
really
you've been doing for 30 years?
To the question that, today I was just thinking, I left for today representing someone, and I was really in a reflective mode because counting down the days and the hours until I'll actually wear that robe and serve in a different capacity. And it's a reflective time for me because I've spent so many years defending persons who are accused of in my state and in other states. And so I'm really thinking about it and certainly thankful and looking forward to the future, but certainly remembering all of the many cases that I've handled over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of the 30 years that you've spent as an attorney, share with us your journey to becoming an attorney.
Okay. So I grew up in a household where our parents encouraged us to read. And I can remember my mother, because it was 6 kids growing up in my household. And our entertainment was the stories that my mom would read to us. And so with that grew a love for books. And an opportunity for me to travel through the world by just going to the library. And in those days, we even had bookmobiles. I don't know if they have them there in your area, but that was really an exciting time because when the bookmobile would come through our neighborhood, and we're in the African American neighborhood, that was one of the few amenities that we had because everything else we'd have to leave our neighborhood in order to participate in things. And so I had a love for books and a love for just the learning process. And so that led me to a career in communications. I actually worked in the broadcast field, and I always say that I decided to cover law school. So I entered law school, thinking at the time that I would probably work for maybe a media company or a corporation. But at that time, African American women working in the world of as lawyers, there weren't a lot of opportunities. Most of my peers in my class were men, and so I took a non-traditional way, and I did some media work after that, but I decided to open up my own practice, and that was the opportunity that was in front of me because I created that opportunity, and that's when I began to find my niche in the types of cases that I wanted to take on, and that's exactly what I did.
And in terms of doing your own practice, how see that's going into business for yourself, and
yes, absolutely.
and that's not always something that we as a people go into simply because of a fear of failure, lack of money, and the lure of a job with some corporation or the lawyership is greater than our desire, greater than our action to do for self. So the question is, what enabled you to do that? When you look at your choice 30 years ago, some odd years ago, to go into business, what was it that gave you that confidence?
Well, it goes back to my parents because growing up in the South, they understood what we were facing, but they always told us that we could do it. And they always told us that if we are prepared, then we'll be able to meet whatever challenge that we face. And it's ironic that neither of my parents were in business for themselves, although my mom's father had a series of businesses in Louisiana when she grew up. I think they had a grocery store and rent homes and things of that nature. But my mom was mostly a stay-home mom. But she always had that idea that if we are prepared and prepared ourselves, we could be able to find the answer if we didn't know the answer. And that's exactly what I had to do because failure was not an option. Not being able to be prepared was not an option. And so I had to look at the circumstance because early in my career, I'm faced with consulting persons charged with capital murder. And to sit in those rooms and try to assist someone when their very life is at hand, my job was to be sure that if we didn't have the information, that we got that information and that we prepared ourselves for the battle that we were up against. And so that I think was more the driving factor that failure was not an option.
So, attorney, were you the oldest in your family? You say there were 6 children.
We have to get the good questions. Yeah, I'm the oldest girl. I had my two brothers ahead of me, and so I was the first in the pecking order. So
Okay.
oldest girl, and in that in that household that I grew up, the oldest girl did take on a lot of the leadership
Mm-hmm.
responsibilities in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And the schools that you went to.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so we did attend public schools. Growing up, we attended public schools, although there was a period we did attend private schools for a period of time. And then beyond there, the colleges I attended were here in the state of Texas. Um, University of North Texas. I did a master's degree at Texas Southern University,
Mm-hmm.
and then I received my JD from South Texas College of Law, which is here in Houston.
Hmm. Talk about Texas Southern, and this is an assumptive question. Talk about
Yes.
your experience at Texas Southern and how that added to your confidence, your self-image versus the other schools that you have been to up to that point.
And wonderful question, because without a doubt, it was there that I was nurtured in my goals. There was faculty that was always available, and that's really important because just with the faculty being willing to share maybe their path or open up opportunities for different fellowships and what have you. In fact, I remember I was a graduate assistant at Texas Southern, um, and that was a direct relationship with the faculty that pretty much made a way for me to make extra money and saw that I was willing to work for it,
Hmm.
and I thought that was a valuable
Hmm.
just a resource
Hmm.
for me.
Hmm.
And I remembered at the time I was thinking I wanted to go to law school, but their program was a full-time day program, and I ended up attending law school part-time, and I could do it at night. And so that's probably one of the things I regret, because I really would have wanted to graduate from the Thurgood Marshall School of Law, certainly because I really admired Justice Thurgood Marshall. And the school is named after him. So that's one of the things I did not get a chance to do, but I certainly benefited from the association and the knowledge at Texas Southern University.
So is it my understanding that most of the sisterhood uh, came from Texas Southern University?
Yes.
Having done.
So the majority of the ladies did graduate at different times because we were at different points in our career. But there was the largest number was absolutely from Thurgood Marshall. Now there were Latasha Lewis Payne, I believe, was a graduate of the University of Texas. And then Deidre Davis, also a graduate of South Texas College of Law. So there was a nice array of colleges and law schools recruited in the sisterhood of newly elected judges.
So you look at the 19, the Miracle 19, and 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 the Miracle 17 coming out in the 19. When you look at that, and the article points, there was no pre-plan for you folks to run for office. This was an individual determination, and you wind up in the same room. Wow, you know.
That's
Okay,
right. I mean,
talk.
it really was. It was it was meant to be. That's the only thing that I can think of because we many of us we had never known each other. I mean, we're in a county that is as large as some states. So our county is Harris County, which is the county that we're in, more than 4 million people. And you can imagine that you have different lawyers, especially our African American female, but in different paths, in different courts, and just never had someone to say, let's pull together and do this. That just did not happen. We all independently decided that we would take a shot at this and run for judge. And when that room came together, that's how the whole idea of the Black Girl Magic and all of that came together. But it certainly it happened magically.
Okay, so Attorney Gray, it happened. Talk about how you folks have talked about the spirituality of it being made manifest in all 1917 of you.
Yeah. Well, you know, the idea of running for any type of political office, you're definitely going to have to have an inner strength about yourself, because at any moment you are charged with being prepared to be able to give your elevator pitch of who you are and what you are about. And so to be on and to be prepared requires some time that from my perspective, that I need to be able to fit with the power certainly greater than myself, and draw from this and draw from and learn and meditate on this in order to strengthen. And so prayer was in our home growing up, and to this day was the way that we started and ended our day. Interspersed with prayer throughout the day, because what we were facing, and just imagine growing up in the South, I remember my brother telling me about the colored and the white fountain that when we would go grocery shopping with our parents, and we had different fountains that we could go to, and I don't remember that, but they certainly told me about it, and you had to be under the protection of Almighty God, because at any point, if you violate some of these rules, it could mean certainly horrible consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So, growing from that and drawing on the strength that through prayer, what I noticed is that all of the other the other candidates, I mean, pretty much explained that they had similar relationships, that it was about the power greater than themselves, and it was about prayer that strengthened. And we spent a lot of time in churches on the campaign trail, and that was really, for me, the way that I was able to refuel and retool in order to go back out onto the campaign trail, because it's one of the things. For 18 months, we were under grueling schedules, and on top of that, you know, with families and practices and on the campaign trail, we knew what was at stake, and so many of us would even, you know, you get sick and try to, we would share home remedies in order to try to keep us going as we were on this path. But it was quite physical and mental challenge. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, this is the Wisdom Table coming to you from East Harlem Community Radio, based in the James Weldon Johnson houses. I'm the co-host to a great team of senior citizens, and personally, I don't like the term senior citizens because I don't like the term.
Elder. Elder.
Wisdom.
No,
So-
I like elders.
So we
are
we,
different ages, elders.
as you can hear in the background, we have an audience, cast of thousands of ancestors and questions from the table for Sister Lori Chambers Gray. She is one of our Sisterhood for Life, the Miracle 19, the Miracle 17. It is indeed a phenomenon. On paper, it's, oh, they won an election. But in the real world that black people have lived in, you don't have this convergence of 19 women running for office who didn't basically know one another. They just found themselves at the point where they said, look, I gotta run for judgeships. And the end result is it's a phenomenal, it's a God moment. And that's not playing on, no, that's playing to our culture as a people. It's a God moment. And we, black men, have to, in the law profession, have to stand up and look and see what the heck is going on. Not that this is bad, but saying, hey, what are we being told from the universe? What is this message here? So questions on the part of our expanded wisdom table. We have Sister Edith Jenkins, we have Sister Eva, and Marilyn Stroud, we have Esther Hyatt, we have myself. And I love to ask questions because that's what I do. But these sisters, when they get in a beauty parlor, they be holding court.
What about
the barbershop?
Barbershop is worse.
So questions, ladies.
I'd like to know about your county. It's called Harris County.
Yes.
How large is it? And it seems
Our county is Harris County, and it's the third largest county in the country. And they said, I think they described it as the size of larger than Rhode Island.
Ooh.
And so it's spread out. Like you'll have the central Houston. Most people will think, oh, Houston, but there are a lot of like suburbs out, standing out from Houston. And so it was certainly a job just getting up and being able to be at one campaign event in Harris County, and then look at your watch and know that in an hour or so you had to be, many miles on another side of the county in order to make a timely appearance at an event. So it certainly required coordination and just a lot of just physically being ready to move as quickly as needed. Because the people, the students want to be where the people are when you're advocating positions that are not as publicly known, like governor or senator. Judges are really at the bottom of the ballot, and so our goal was to educate the people why it was important that they get out and vote all the way down the ticket. Yes.
Talk about some surprises that you encountered in your campaign, either you or the other judges, the other attorneys, some surprises that you began to share with one another, things that happened that once again showed another hand making things fall into place.
Right. So I think what was not surprising, but was certainly showing that we were all on the same page, and there was unity, and most when you think about a campaign, you would think about, you know, um, maybe people taking hard opposite positions, and but there was so much unity uh, between the other sisters as we went through all of the things that we had to do as candidates. Now, we were not opposing each other. So we were running for 19 separate benches, and I remember a lot of times when we would be at an event, people would say, "Well, are you all running against each other?" And so we had to quickly make sure that the voting group knew that that we were for 19 separate seats. But other what shows how the hand of of God was on this, so many of the young people came out and registered to vote. They were inspired to become involved in the election process. And a lot of times they're overlooked. But, you know, I know that with the Obama campaign, he really worked with the young people. But it was really just inspiring to see the young seniors in high school registering to vote and getting out and voting.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So they had a call to action. And we would be in places, and they'd want to take pictures with us, and we had shirts, and it became a way that they could rally around and just say, well, what can I do? You know, how can I help? And that was such an humbling place to be, because normally a candidate is running and saying, please, you know, donate, big handle this, can you do this? The people were coming up and saying, how can I help? I would get Instagram inboxes and you know, random people saying, I just want to help. And that was really so humbling to me.
Talk about I'm shifting, and this is in terms of coming out of law school. The individual looks for a job with a law firm or in a prosecutor's office, and what happens in what this is not based on you, but based on when you go to gatherings, what's the state of mind of black men, of black women who are lawyers, and they're in the corporate arena? What is happening with them? Are they happy? They're getting well paid, but are they dissatisfied? Do they think that they're figureheads? What about the stress in that situation?
Sure. That's a really good question. I'm remembering one time I was at a conference, and there was a brother who had a corporate position, and he was involved in, I mean, it was a great position, he was well paid, and he said that part of his job was to, when they had to downsize, to lay people off. And there came a time when he was actually one of the persons that was about to be laid off, and he said he knew that it was coming for him. And so rather than go normally in the corporate level, they would go and stand at your cubicle at your office and say to you, well, today you need to pack your things and leave. And he said he somehow knew that that would happen to him, so he took the elevator and went to the basement and walked up the back to get to his office. And sure enough, they were standing in front, waiting to escort him out of the building. And he recounted that story because he said, how absurd was it for him to think that he was building something for himself in that corporation, when in fact he was building something for someone else all along, but he had imparted upon, he had taken their philosophy as his philosophy. But when in fact he believed that he should have been a long time thinking about his own practice and building his own philosophy and strategies and what have you. So he leaves that particular corporate setting and starts to practice and becomes, a successful person. But or I should say continues to be a successful person because he was successful there, but he was building someone else.
Sister Gray, isn't it amazing how creative we are?
It really is. And I remember that story. It was like, he wasn't willing to face what was coming.
Oh
And
man.
thought somehow if he could, avert what was about to happen. But yeah, that was pretty creative.
Brother, we're some great people. Once we get free, I'm serious. We are. There's life after death, and when you're in that
Yeah.
corporate arena, you can be drained and don't know it. I was surprised at so many of my fellow workers. They were going to psychologists. I said, "What black people need to go to psychologists for?" But
We just need to sit down with some of our elders and ask for their wisdom.
That's it.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, in terms of that point that you just made,
Yeah.
how often in terms of the point that you just made, right? About sitting
Yes.
down with elders, how often have you seen the educated of our people have a turnabout in life when they begin to go back to church?
Well, and that and I want to respond to that, but I also want to bring out a name that you all can surely know as far as sitting with the elders. There's one picture in my office, and it's myself and one of the lawyers I practice with, along with Johnny Cox, and he was my mentor. He was someone that I was introduced to before O.J. Simpson, and just shared so much wisdom and strategy and just heart and love of the law with me. And so I can never say thank you enough for the ability that he had and the willingness to share that. So he was definitely a teacher and a leader, an advocate.
Johnny Cochran.
But Johnny Cochran, absolutely. There is that one that made a huge contribution in my continued study and development as a trial lawyer.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I was talking about Johnny Cochran a week or so ago, and the fact that he understood our language.
Yes,
And
very well said.
Yeah.
He did, absolutely.
And I would, yeah, go ahead.
No, and he wanted to be where we were. He was on the floor in Los Angeles County. He was there and helped so many people. I mean, we know about O.J. Simpson, but there were tons of people that he helped.
The I'm just going back into corporate arena. The
Okay.
desire when a lawyer, I'm dealing with black lawyers. When a black lawyer
Okay.
goes and is accepted in a corporation, one of his goals or her goals is to become a partner. What does that mean?
Well, and having myself never being a part of a firm, a white firm or any firm other than my own, um, I can't speak from firsthand, but I can tell you as partner, what it means is that the, the lawyers will then be able to share in the revenue of all of the firms. Of mostly in a firm, you'll come in as an associate, and so you'll get a certain salary. But as partner, or you could come in bringing your own line of clients and only are paid from that. But as partner, you could share in total revenue. And those are
Okay.
those positions that are the highly coveted positions, and not very many minorities. Certainly when I started out 30 years ago, didn't even have an opportunity to get into some of the largest firms, much less make it to partner. So it is, today I'm told, and I'm seeing more women and minorities, but it's still we have a long way to go in that regard.
And the feedback from this article appearing in the final call. I know we're connecting with you from New York, of course. What other
Yeah.
kind of national and international feedback have you gotten based on the
It
exposure?
Well, we were all so happy, and I want to say that, and I meant to say that earlier, to get a call from the writer from the final call. And when I expressed to the sisters that there is this opportunity to share our story in the final call, everybody wanted to participate. And so many of the names you see in the article further support that. But in addition to that, the story covered on the BBC, the New York Times, the Miami Herald, the Washington Post. It seemed as if every week, so I know the Associated Press had the story, and it just went out throughout this country. And Nigeria. So it was certainly unexpected that the story would grow and spread that way, but it absolutely it did, and that for me is another illustration of how God was in this, because I know in Texas a lot of people had certain expectations about other offices that would make this be a part of the blue wave, but the little 19 and the 17 of us out of Harris County was certainly something that we hope to get running throughout Harris County, but to think that we woke up and saw the story everywhere else was truly it was just unbelievable.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I can see this as I can see this as a story that should go around the country. You know, like a film on how you all
Yes,
got together and how you bonded, and
yes,
bringing in God, and maybe,
absolutely.
as usual, a little bit of music
Hmm.
as to, you
And
know.
and really to what I would like to do, and many of and all of us would like to do, is just to inspire
Yeah.
and inspire the young people to see that it is possible, that when we work together, when we have a dream, we can absolutely achieve our dreams.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things in your dialogue with us is correct if I'm off, and that is the critical importance, the strategic importance and value of historical black colleges.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And you know, you might, and this is one of the things that I share with my husband. Both of us, we have two children, and our son graduated from Birmingham University, which is historically black college here in engineering, and our daughter is attending Texas Southern University, and studying business. And what we wanted them to know is that college enough can be hard enough just in and of itself, but when you have an environment that is nurturing, that is that is that is cooperating with, you're not just a number. You are someone that your faculty is concerned about your being successful. That's important because in many instances, and I've been there, where you are one of 100 or 200 sitting in a classroom, and you really more or less never become an individual student. You're just a number on a rubric, and you either get it or you don't. And it's not to say that there's not room for some of that, but certainly what an added educational component to have educators that are just truly dedicated to seeing that you become successful as well.
Yeah.
And that's what you find. I mean, I found it, my family found it, my, you know, associates and those who have attended the HBCUs, it's just, it's really a treasure. And it's a treasure for the whole community. And certainly you will find other minorities and other majorities attending because they like the things such as programs and small classes and all the other things that come along with it.
So we have as we are reaching the conclusion on this interview, we have once again senior citizens at the table. They have grandchildren and great grand. What are recommendations that you would make to them based on what you have seen in the courtroom? The cases that you the level of illiteracy that you've seen. What are your what are some of the things that you would say to senior citizens as to what they can do in guiding their children and grandchildren?
Well, I would just first thank them for just being a part of this program and being who they are in our lives, and even more today with our children becoming less social and more on video games and phones and more in an isolated situation. It's important to develop communication skills early on, and it helps them be able to navigate all of what they would learn at school. And so reading books to them, telling stories to them, and allowing them to let their imagination run is so important. I've defended people who became isolated and committed heinous crimes because they felt that they were alone, or they felt that there was nowhere to go. And it's important because we are people, we're social. We need each other. We need to be able to be in the room with each other and say that you can do this, say that I love you, say that you are, you are pretty, you are wonderfully made, and your life has purpose. And that's what the imaginary world of phones and internet can't really give us. And it's so important that those of us who know how to communicate and advocate for ourselves, those are the ones that are going to be successful tomorrow. But those who are introverts and cannot put together what it is that they need will always find themselves trying to get somewhere because they haven't been able to articulate to whomever it is, that audience, what they were about, whether it's getting a job, whether it's trying to get a scholarship, or whether it's a bank loan or a business deal. You need to be able to be that advocate for yourself and be able to communicate with the population.
Would knowing your history be of importance? And I remember what you said about your older brother who told you about the water fountains. You were not a part of that. I mean, you never saw it, but you heard about it and you were impacted upon by it.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. Because it's so important for us to know our history, and that goes back to those reading those biographies and the stories that are all there. The stories about Esther and Marshall. Just read Brown versus Board of Education. I mean, that's a short. I think it's a 14-page opinion, but it talks about how separate study pool was unconstitutional and why it's important for us to have a good education. And we must read some of the stories of Lorraine Hansberry. I mean, these are good stories, and learn about Coretta Scott too, Maya Angelou. These are our leaders. These are the people that have paved the way for us today. And much of what they were speaking about is so relevant today.
Okay, so we going around the table again. Any questions?
No.
All right.
No.
She has given us a full meal, and really, it's a pleasure that you would share your time with us, and we thank you and the other sisters.
You're welcome. You are so welcome. I have enjoyed this opportunity to share this story with you all. And I'm so honored that you took the time, Brother Leroy, to invite me to be a part of your program.
Very good. May God continue to bless you.
Will she be coming again? Will we get an opportunity to speak to you again after January, when we can call you Judge?
Absolutely. That would be wonderful. So that would be wonderful. We could certainly plan something like that, because I am certain I will have some further stories to share after that January 1st swearing-in ceremony and moving forward.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I would say this in ending, Sister Laurie Gray, and there are elements. This is not for you to agree to or whatever. There are elements arrayed against the slightest elevation of black people into different positions. And the fact that the 19 have been brought together, now they are in a spotlight for underminers to attempt to operate. So it's so very, very critical that we make adjustments in our lives that we may not have made before, but only from the standpoint of being a target now, and that target
Yeah.
means defeat to our people. So that's something that we have to be very, very conscious of.
Absolutely. That is so very true. And you can be assured that we have been admonished, and we certainly appreciate the community appreciating the position that we will be in, but certainly our goal is to make the community proud of the service.
Excellent.
Mhm.
All right, my sister.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, and
Okay.
much success to you, your
Thank
family,
you.
and the other sisters.
Thank you very much for having me.
God bless you.
Good evening.
Good afternoon.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. You all have a wonderful the rest of the day.
Thank you, man.
Same you.
Alrighty.
And that was Sister Lori Chambers Gray. She is one of the sisters mentioned in the article in the Final Call newspaper. That's November 27, 2018, page 8. This is a sisterhood for life. Black girl magic in Houston's judiciary. A really, really fantastic story. And Sister Esther Hyatt brought it up during the interview, mentioned movies. And my mind went back to Hidden Figures and how that grouping of women did phenomenal in the space program in the United States. But those are people we know. Here's there are other black women who are inspired from this, who are going to be running in other parts of the country just based on these 19 women. Let's go around the table, what you learn, what you take away for your family, for yourself.
You learned that you can't say what you can't do. It's what you have in your mind to try to do. Don't never sit back and say you can't do it until you try it. Now, I always saw people, they tell me what they can't do. Have you tried it?
You can't get something if you don't give something.
Mm-hmm. Can't get if you don't give.
That's right.
That's it.
What you gonna give if you didn't give it? What you gonna get if you didn't give anything?
Well, we have to stick together, and that's the only way I feel we're gonna make it, and or show our power.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by hanging together and being a part of a community.
Ready to pair.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And you can learn a lot from a younger part of this group, because my nephew is a lawyer, and I've learned quite a bit from him, and it just helped with this today.
Where's he at?
He's in North Carolina. He has his own business in Africa.
Well, that's a guess. He's a guest for the show.
Call Ronnie up and tell him to talk to us.
Tell him it's a black show. He'll come.